or Bill C. or Mr. Bill. Any of these will get me elected. I look forward to serving you. Thank you.
Mr. Donlin.
I'm pleased to be able to have taken advantage of this opportunity to run for city council, and I can tell you honestly that I never envisioned myself doing this. But I really want to contribute to this community, and I look forward to making some of the tough decisions. I was raised in Kirkland, and there's a lot of similarities, the downtown, the way the city grows or grew, and I watched all that happen and experienced it. And Kirkland is a real tight town, and it looks great, and they have a waterfront very similar to ours, and the downtown problems that were very similar to ours. Their buildings were built on fill, and I'd like to be able to take what I observed and my work experience and help this city grow and make some of the tough decisions. There are tough decisions coming up, and I'm willing to accept that.
Mr. Lane.
Thank you. It's all about the hard work. It's really what it comes down to, and it's really not that hard if you just do it. One of the things I do on the weekends is I deliver pizza. I deliver pizza for Pizza Hut, and I really enjoy it because it gives me the opportunity to drive around and just meet wonderful people. You know, and that's one of the things that I've really noticed is there's some amazing people in this community that I know that, you know, there's so much talent that if we just harness it and bring it together, we can do great things. Because really when it comes down to it, yes, there's been some negative things this evening, but really when it comes down to it, they're just challenges. They're not problems. They're just challenges. And we just have to make the choice to do it. That's all. And we can do it together so that we have the change that happens that we want, not the change that happens to us. Thank you.
Ms. Lucarelli. Excuse me.
Prior to being on the council, most of my work was volunteer in the community. So I got a real sense of the potential of Port Orchard. That's something that I still look forward to. We formed a committee. It was called the Waterfront Vision Committee, but we never had staff for it. But I think we need to go back to that and address the potential for our downtown, for the existing areas. I know what I've learned on the council is that it's a team effort, and I think we have worked well together. I've appreciated being on the committees. There's a great deal to learn when you first get on the council. I really have appreciated being on the utilities. I feel I have a lot to offer. I've worked hard to catch up, and I have worked on the tourism video that promotes the city and would look forward to continuing the efforts that I've already started. So thank you very much for this opportunity.
Mr. Whittleton.
As a manager, I was given the opportunity every year to evaluate the performance of my employees. The City Council are our employees, and every 4 years we are given an opportunity to evaluate their performance. Would you extend the employment contract of an employee that refused to answer questions or refused to meet at the office, opting for local restaurants? I wouldn't. I have experience in dealing with complex issues, budgets, and working with small groups. I also have experience answering to my employer. I'm Nick Whittleton, and I'm asking for the opportunity to serve the citizens of Port Orchard as a member of their City Council. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Clausen.
First, I'd like to thank you for arranging this evening. It's been very interesting. And secondly, I'd like to thank the citizens of Port Orchard for allowing me to be their city council member for as many years as I've been here. And I've had a great opportunity to learn an awful lot while I've been here. But it's a team. It's a team within City Hall. It takes, I always think of it as a three-legged stool. It takes the council, the mayor, and the staff working together to get things accomplished. But it also takes a citizen together. We can do an awful lot. This building is a perfect example of something that we've been able to accomplish over the years. I could go through a whole list of things from fire stations to bridges and so on, but it really is an opportunity to work with the citizens of Port Orchard, and I certainly am grateful and humbled by having this opportunity, so thank you.
Mr. Law.
Yes, thank you. I've been to enough city council meetings to get a general idea what the duties of a city council member are. At each council meeting, the city staff is there to define the framework for which they are to make their decisions and advise them of the potential outcome of any action or inaction they may make. But really all that is semantics. What is really important is the obligation of the elected official to the voters. Each vote is a vote of trust, a trust that their candidate is honest and unyielding in their representation. I take that trust very seriously as a voter, and I take that trust very seriously as a candidate. I'm Keith Law, people before politics, service before self. Thank you for your trust, and thank you for your vote.
And Mr. Cucciardi.
You know, it's funny, I commend every single person in this room that's sitting behind this table tonight. This position that we're all campaigning for is, I think we could agree, is not a whole lot more than just a volunteer position, but with a massive scope. If you look at the city and all of the components to it and the departments to it, it is massive. And it's probably what I look forward to the most is that challenge of being effective, you know, when faced with that massive challenge. And every decision that we make and how it has implications on all the other decisions that we make and how it, you know, to see things through and to be able to look to the future. You know, I believe first and foremost that people are good people. And it always surprises me that when we get into these campaigns, the vindictiveness that comes out of those, and, you know, everyone wants to cry foul. And, you know, the way I approach my staff, the way I approach my neighbors is just through the most respectful interpretation. Start there. Start with the most respectful interpretation. Don't come at somebody assuming they're doing something wrong or something, you know, ill-willed. And I'll definitely will bring that attitude. There's great people. I look forward to working with them and accepting this challenge. Thank you. My name's Sean Cucciardi.
Thank you. Thank you for a nice discussion. Give them a round of applause. We were a little over time, but with 8 people, I wanted to give you all some time to talk. We'll break for about 5 minutes and then get right to the mayor's race. Get up and stretch. Please stick around. We have 2 candidates, Rob Putansu, who indicated to me, and rightly so, that I've missed a U there at the end. Welcome. And Tim Mathis, thank you. Nice to see you both, and welcome to the second half of our Port Orchard extravaganza. I'm going to do the same thing with you folks that I did with the councilmen. You'll have an opening statement first for 1.5 minutes, and then we'll go to questions. We have wonderful questions, even from the last forum. So a lot of things about Port Orchard people want to know, and oh so little time. So we'll start first with the introductory. And I'll start with you, Mayor, Tim Mathis. Please give us an introduction and why you're running for candidate.
All right.
For mayor.
Thank you. My name is Tim Mathis, and I've been the mayor for the last 3.5 years. I believe that this election is about, for mayor, comes down to 2 questions. And that is, who will you trust to protect your interests? And who will best defend the character and the charm that we all agree we love as Port Orchard? I promise you I will. I will represent you, the citizens of Port Orchard, and I have no other business commitments competing for my time, and I have no special interests that I favor. I will devote 100% of my time representing you, the citizens. I have in the past 3 years, or 3.5 years, held 12 town hall meetings. I do this so that I have the give you the opportunity to tell me what's important to you and what you think Port Orchard should look like into the future. I will continue to hold these town hall meetings, and I look for additional ways and opportunities to have more interaction with you. I promise to nurture and grow the idea that Port Orchard is business friendly, but let's not forget that we need to have a vibrant tourist attraction here too. Thank you for allowing me to serve you for the last 4 years, and I'm looking forward to serving you for an additional 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Putansu.
Hello, my name is Rob Putansu, and thank you for having me here this evening. I wish to be the next mayor of Port Orchard. I grew up here. I raised my family here. I've worked here for the last 16 years as a banker in this community, past president of my Rotary Club, past president of the Chamber of Commerce, and a co-founder of the Kurt Wagner Education Fund, who provide educational opportunities to the children in our community. The reason I want to be the next mayor of Port Orchard is, as long as I've lived here, I've never seen a vibrant economy here in Port Orchard. It's happening all around us. Gig Harbor, Silverdale, even in Bremerton. And I believe we can make this happen here too. I think we need to attract companies to our industrial park that provide family wage jobs, not only for our current residents, but future generations. I think we need to attract businesses to our commercial corridors that will allow for shopping opportunities for our residents so that we can capture our sales tax dollars that are being spent in other communities. If we do that, we'll have the dollars we need to continue to invest in ourselves, improve our roads, provide public safety, and invest in our parks. These are all things we want, and I think we can all agree on that. So thank you again for having me here this evening.
Mr. Putansu, I'm going to start with you with a question. How would you get citizens involved from the beginning on city issues for input before hiring consultants? What would you do?
It's difficult. We have a handful of people that come consistently to our city council meetings, and we hear from them quite often. But it's difficult to get people to come and engage with us until there's something that's truly impacting them. They've got busy lives. They're coaching their soccer team, kids' soccer teams, and so on and so forth. I think we need to get out of City Hall. We need to host meetings about issues outside of City Hall. I've learned a tremendous amount here in the last month and a half doorbelling and talked to people on their doorsteps. So I think you need to engage with people throughout the community, and that's how you do it.
Mr. Mathis, any other ideas on how to engage?
Well, you know, I alluded to the town hall meeting theory, and I still believe in it. Many times during council meetings, citizens come up to that podium and ask questions. The council has decided by a majority decision that they're not going to interact with the citizens at their meeting. I can appreciate that, I guess. I don't agree with it, but I appreciate that it's their meeting. But I think that the option of having town hall meetings is a very good one. As long as everybody knows that you're going to interact with the citizens. You're going to talk to them, you're going to tell them what you think, and they're going to tell you what they think. So I think that's a really good way of doing it. Also, another good way of doing it is being involved in every committee, in every group, in every organization that you can, and talk to people. Come to town all the time. Whenever there's an organization having a function, be there.
Mr. Mathis, what is your plan to increase the city's revenue without increasing the burden on its citizens or businesses?
You know, I did mention that we need to not forget tourism. I'm thinking that's a really big thing for us to do, is keep encouraging it. You know, the city of Port Orchard is about food, fun, and family festivals. We've had a festival or 2 or 3 every weekend this whole summer. In matter of fact, Friday night, we're having a ladies' night out downtown. Port Orchard Bay Street Association is sponsoring that. Please come to town and enjoy yourself, because you don't have to come to town necessarily to spend money, but I think you will when you find out all of the neat places there are downtown to spend your money, but you'll come down just to have fun. So I think tourism is a way, and the reason I know that is in the 4 years I've been mayor, we have increased our sales tax revenue by 25%. When I came on, we're collecting about a little less than $3 million. Today we're a little over $4 million, and that's just in 4 years. So, and that also speaks well to the fact that business must be pretty good in Port Orchard.
Mr. Putansu.
Could you repeat the question for me, please?
Sure. What is your plan to increase the city's revenue without increasing the burden on its citizens and businesses?
Well, I see the festivals are a wonderful thing that happen in our community. They aren't the end all. They only happen throughout the nice summer months. My idea is, once again, we need to invest in ourselves, in our roads, and the private sector will invest in our community and create jobs and opportunity in our community, which then will reap the benefit from the sales tax revenue from those businesses.
Okay. What would you do to, how would you deal as a mayor with the city council? What would you do differently?
I believe it's important to communicate with people. I have a proven track record with many of the organizations that I'm involved with as a leader, as a communicator, and a facilitator. I believe I have a proven track record of doing just that.
And Mr. Mathis, how would you?
Well, I definitely need to improve my communication skills there on that regard, because many, many times I've heard, well, that's the first I've ever heard you say that, or you never told us that. So I promise going forward, even tomorrow, I'm going to improve my communication skills. I'm going to say what I think and think out loud. At first, see, I was under the impression that Robert's Rules of Order was that I just managed a meeting. I wasn't supposed to interject my thoughts into it. The council has shown me that it's expected for me to participate. So I'm going to be a lot more vocal in participating.
And Mr. Mathis, what regulatory tools should the mayor and council use to eliminate blight among rentals and owner-occupied housing in Port Orchard?
We need a complete revamp of the code. And because a code is, in fact, our roadmap and our rule for moving forward. We don't have a good one for derelict buildings. Somebody mentioned on the council portion of this that we are, in fact, the attorney and Public Works and Planning Department are all working together to come up with a code that will really improve our ability to take care of some of these buildings that have been, you know, let go, so to speak. I don't like to call them blighted, you know. So,
Mr. Patansu.
I'm not convinced that we need more rules and regulations in government, and I believe, once again, it comes down to communication and communicating with people. And just last week, we'd heard at our council meeting that we were in the process of writing a letter from our attorney to the owner of Myries. So the next day, I picked up the telephone. I called the gentleman, took a couple of phone calls, but I tracked him down. He's an out-of-town investor. He's not a developer, and he hasn't owned the building. The building had a number of legal problems. In a 10-minute conversation, he committed to me that he apologized actually for you know, ignoring the issue, and committed to me that he was very shortly going to make some necessary improvements to the building, and it was just a matter of communication.
Could I have a tiny rebuttal? We have no code. It's not that we need additional rules. We have no rules for that particular issue. So,
Mr. Patansu.
I'm just not convinced that I think communication is the first and foremost thing we need to do, and if that doesn't work, then it's a letter from your attorney. You don't start with a letter from your attorney.
Okay. Mr. Patansu, what regulatory tools should the mayor and council use to eliminate? Oh, I just asked you the question. Both of you talked about Port Orchard as being as tourism as being one of the things that Port Orchard could enhance. How would you go about promoting tourism for Port Orchard?
I think that we do a fabulous job on our waterfront, from our marina to the festivals that we do downtown. Of course, there's more we could do. It's partnering with organizations. I'm not sure that government has a direct role in running festivals and should, and I'm not sure that's how we should be spending our tax dollars. We should be supporting them, you know, from police services to public works. But I think tourism is vital to our community, and I think we've got healthy tourism, at least in the summer months, on our waterfront.
Is there anything more that can be done, Mr. Mathis?
Well, yes, we have LTAC money, lodging tax money. We've averaged between 75 and 90,000 a year in lodging tax money that we spread out among quite a few recipients. They're all 501c3 nonprofits, and they're all the folks that are the movers and shakers in making us a destination place to be. So we can do that. We partner with them. The city actually pays for very little of the ladies' night out, the fireworks, the on and on and on. It's a lot of nonprofit folks with a lot of heart for Port Orchard that are really making the whole season for us. So the mayor needs to keep encouraging them. And it isn't always about money. It's about encouragement. It's about being there. It's about helping them get their, whatever it is that they want to do done in the city and help them.
Thank you. This question's coming up again. Why or why not have you asked for or received funding from Kitsap Realtors? And we might just talk about money from realtors in general. Mr. Mathis, have you, and why do you think that the realtors are offering campaign money?
I went to the interview, the realtor interview. I didn't go to the home builder interview, but I told them that I wasn't looking for an endorsement because I have a definite position against endorsements. I think they're damaging for various reasons. I couldn't tell you about it in this forum. It would take me too long, but if you go to www.timmathisformayor.com, there's a letter there that says endorsements. It tells you what I think about them. But I went there because I wanted to let them know that, I'm here and I have an opinion, but I'm just not looking for your endorsement. I think endorsements sometimes can be very problematic. I think that a lot of times an organization believes that they have something now on you or they expect something from you. Thank you.
Mr. Putanza?
Specifically to the independent expenditure issue, I think Mr. Kachardi hit the nail on the head. When it comes to the realtor's endorsement that my opponent and I both interviewed for, and I obtained their endorsement and then subsequently funded $950 to my campaign, I'm very grateful. I think my opponent's statement is rather hypocritical when in a prior election he accepted more than $10,000 from the same organization.
How does Port Orchard stack up against other cities when it comes to our park and recreational activities offerings?
Our
excuse me.
Our parks need attention. It's a resource issue. I mean, we've just now coming out of an economic downturn. I think we've done a lot here recently, in particular the McCormick Village Park, the pedestrian pathway, which I've been a proponent of from the beginning. But there's more we can do, and you need to leverage those grant opportunities to maximize your dollars because we do need more recreational opportunities in our community.
If we'd have leveraged grant opportunities with the McCormick Park, we did in 2014, we did a 30-acre phase 1 of McCormick Park out there. If we'd have been waiting to leverage that grant opportunity, it wouldn't have been done. We just used the money that was in there, the park impact fees, and went ahead and did it. Now that in part caused us to be able to get a grant this year because it showed the sincerity of the city because we'd already done phase 1. So sometimes waiting for grants is just, a pie in the sky idea. But we've done a lot of things in our parks. When I took over mayor, we had 30 usable acres. Now we have 70 usable acres in 4 years. We've had 5 different park projects in the city that have improved the parks from a small project to a very large project in Van Zee Park, and several $100,000 worth of work, a lot of it by volunteers that I organized. So there's ways to get our parks spruced up and in good shape. Thank you.
I'm going to change this question just a little bit. Do you think that Port Orchard city government needs an ethics policy, and would you support the same, Mr. Mathis?
I've always supported an ethics policy. I belong to about 6 regional organizations. As mayor, I sit on the Housing Kitsap board, for instance. They're working right now on what looks to me like a great ethics manual for that organization. The state has an ethics manual. Most cities that I know of have ethics manuals. Port Orchard, not so much. I asked that we do that 4 years ago, and boy, I'll tell you what, the council just about hung me an effigy because they said I didn't think that they were ethical. That's not the point. The point is you need to spell out, just like you need codes that spell out what the rules are, you need to have an ethics manual. I still believe that that's very important, and I hope in the next 4 years as your mayor that we have a citizen group that will form, and the citizens, the council, and the mayor will come up with such a policy.
Mr. Patanza.
I don't believe we need more rules and regulations. I think we've got plenty of state laws that deal with those things, and I believe I work with a highly ethical group of individuals, and I'm very proud to serve with them.
Mr. Patanzu, what in your opinion are the top 2 issues facing Port Orchard?
I would say it is investment in our streets and corridors so that we can attract commercial development. We see a ton of for sale and developable commercial land on Bethel, Sedgwick-Sydney, Sedgwick, Tremont corridors. I believe we've got to invest in ourselves and find a way to fund the Tremont project. That's the first step. And our utility infrastructure. So it's both of them are really related to infrastructure, our utility infrastructure. We're fortunate that we were able to get a low-interest loan to help with the Well 10 transmission main. We're currently buying water from the city of Bremerton, and we'll be in much better shape from a utility standpoint when we're not having to buy water from an outside source.
The 2 issues, Port Orchard, the most important issues that Port
Well,
Orchard faces.
I think it's the zoning and the way we're headed. What are we going to look like in the next 5, 10, 15 years? That's the number one thing that I hear people talk to me about. They want to know what I think about downtown. Some want to know what we can do about downtown. Some say we leave it alone. We like it the way it is. It's very a third rail hot button item. But the other thing that I think the 800-pound gorilla is that nobody seems to realize is stormwater. And that's the state stormwater requirements. That's going to be the 800-pound gorilla that you're going to see here come up more and more in the next few years. And we haven't got a good handle on what exactly that may look like, the stormwater regulations coming from the state. And keep in mind, those stormwater regulations are mandates without funding in most cases. So they just say this is that and that is this is what you have to do. But there usually isn't any forthcoming funding. So that's going to be the big problem. And thank you.
Here's a question about the city government's relationship to the school districts. What kind of relationship and dialogue should the mayor and council be having with the South Kitsap School District? And would you advocate a second high school for Port Orchard? Mr. Mathis.
I would advocate for whatever my 13,500 citizens or the 7,000 registered voters would vote for. I don't believe that's part of, my position on not taking a position in a lot of cases. Nobody hired me to tell them what I thought about schools. Now, I have a personal opinion, and I'm going to vote a certain way, but I don't believe that it's my point or my position to tell the citizens how they should vote on schools. But I will support whatever they say.
Mr. Patansu.
I believe as the mayor, you should be present and attending the meetings related to this issue, and I believe there's a focus group right now that's meeting on that very issue. You need to be knowledgeable, and you need to know what's going on in that meeting so that you can communicate with your citizenry about it. I don't believe you should be, the mayor should be the front person for that. That's obviously the school district's role, the school board, and I think we need to, once again, invest in our community, invest in our kids. So I personally think it's important, but it's an issue that we need to educate our citizens about and provide them information, and it'll be their decision to make.
Could the mayor and the city council be addressing the issues of public safety a little bit more effectively with our at least the perception that we have a high crime rate? Mr. Potansu?
Any crime in our community is not a good thing, but it really becomes a resource issue. I mean, we can't put all of our money into, public safety, because we still need to fix our roads and parks and other needs. We do have the county jail in our community, and people are released from there at all hours, and I think that may contribute to it. I also believe that the statistics may be a little skewed, that we grew the city by annexation and a few years back, and we obtained 2 box stores that have a tremendous amount of shoplifting. And those were in the county's crime statistics previously, and now they're in ours. So while no crime is good, I believe maybe some of the statistics are slightly skewed, showing an alarming growth in crime rates when it was already here. It just wasn't associated with the city of Port Orchard.
Mr. Mathis?
Well, the police chief and I meet weekly on various issues, and we have been talking about this, and he has told me, and I agree with the fact that they are skewed, and they are skewed in part because of our annexations, but they're also skewed because we do an excellent job at following up and writing reports. We write a report on a hiccup almost, and now you would say, in a way, that's good. That's a good thing. Everything is written down, and everything is part of the statistics then. That's a call. That's a case. And so they look at them that way, where it be shoplifting or whether it be something much more serious. So those statistics are definitely skewed, and the people I talk to do not feel that they're afraid to walk at night around City Hall or any place else that I know of in the city. So, yes, I agree. I disagree that we have an alarming rate of, instances.
Here's a question that has to do with the mayor's relationship with his staff. How could you improve the relationship? We've talked about the mayor and city council. How about the mayor and the staff, the people who work in the courthouse?
City Hall.
In City Hall, rather. How could you improve that relationship?
Is that for me?
Yeah.
Oh,
yes, I'm sorry.
Okay. We have a really great relationship right now. All great relationships can be improved. So there again, I think a lot of it has to do with communication. I have at least one major staff meeting a week. Periodically, they roll their eyes. Another staff meeting, but I think about it periodically. Maybe a special staff meeting once a month, additional one once a month. I don't want to overdo that because in the shipyard, when I worked in the management level of the shipyard, they really overdid staff meetings. So that's one way to do it. I really have, right now, a great staff, and I work well with them. And I have lots of confidence in them, and they seem to have confidence in me. So.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Mr. Potansu.
I believe, in any interpersonal relationship, it's about communication. I've been in management for a number of years in my career, and my philosophy is hire good people, provide them the resources they need to do the job, and get out of their way. But as far as relationships with staff, I've got a proven track record of being able to work collaboratively with others and, to build consensus.
I have two questions here about economic development, and I'm going to try to put them both together. What steps would you take to improve the economic environment in Port Orchard is one of the questions. And the other one is, which do you think is more important for our environment here, small business or companies? Mr. Potansu, could you address the economic environment?
I'm very pro-business and pro-small business in particular. They're vital to our economy. And I think it's sorely lacking, our economic development effort. We have a business park here in Port Orchard that has a tremendous amount of available developable land. We need to work with our partners at KEDA and CADA, I hate acronyms there, but the Kitsap Development Alliance, and to attract businesses to their jobs. It's revenue to our city, and we need to do a much better job than we're doing currently.
I'd like to offer a counterpoint maybe to what my opponent just said. In 2015, the consumer website NerdWallet.com recently crunched consensus data numbers to find the best places to start a business in our state. And guess what? Port Orchard ranked among the top 20 of 126 small cities. We ended up at number 13, and I'm very proud of that. In 2015, we have had over a 14% rise in the number of building permits from last year to this year. I'm also proud of that. Our city planning department has received over 300% increase in pre-land and land use development applications this year. That doesn't mean we're sitting on our hands. In October 15, we've had 25 building permits being reviewed, and of those, 3 are commercial buildings, and those buildings are valued at $3.2 million. So we're not sitting on our hands, and we shouldn't be wringing our hands saying we don't have business in the city of Port Orchard.
Here's a question. When working with building owners, it's important to remember that they are often not the owners of the businesses occupying their space. What can the city do to protect existing businesses during any redevelopment that occurs in the future? Mr. Mathis.
Very, very tough question. I don't hold out a lot of warm and wonderful things that we could do for them or they can do for themselves. If they don't own their building, they're, at the whim of whoever does own the building. They can raise the rents, they can move them out, they can do whatever they want to do. So I just don't see government at this point in time, and I'm kind of glad that we don't have that authority to step in to that dynamic between a business renter and a business building owner.
Mr. Potansu?
We shouldn't be regulating that, and people that are going to invest in their building aren't going to do that unless they get a return on that investment. And I think the business owners need to look at that as an opportunity. If there's going to be a more vibrant community, there should be more customers for them to sell their goods to. So I think these business owners should look at it as an opportunity, not something that's going to put them out of business.
Okay. Yeah, it's about that time. I'm going to ask you to talk about anything, either elaborate on something that we've already touched on, or if we've missed an issue that you think we should be talking about. Mr. Potansu, you have a minute to expound on your...
I'm going to continue on my theme of investing in ourselves, and I think that's what we need to do as a community, whether it's our schools, our fire department, our city. For as long as I've been in this community, we have a tendency to kick the can down the road and pass it on to the next generation. And it's part of why we're in some of the situations that we're in as a community. And my leadership I want to move us forward to conquer these issues and make this a better community to live in.
Mr. Mathis.
Well, in the last 4 years, you know, I mentioned we've improved usability of 5 of our parks, added 30 acres, phase 1, out there on Old Southwest Clifton Road. And by the way, next year we're going to be doing phase 2, which is the second major phase of that park, and that'll be done early next year. In 2016, we already have the money for that. So that's moving ahead nicely. We've, in the last 4 years, we've completed 3 pedestrian path elements. Segment 2, Segment 5, and let's see what the other one, Segment 4. Segment 4 will be completed within a month. It's Blackjack Bridge, and we're going to have a big ribbon cutting party. And brass band, I've already got a brass band ordered to be playing on the bridge when we cut that ribbon. And the reason we're going to be so overjoyed for that is it's a major project. So, okay.
Before the candidates give their closing statements, I'd like to thank Rhiannon, who's over here, for taping this event, and BCAT for broadcasting it, and the rebroadcasting of this forum, excuse me, will take place on October 9th at 10 a.m., October 12th at 1:30 p.m., on the 14th at 10 p.m., and the 23rd at 10 a.m. That's BCAT, it's channel 3, or Comcast, it's channel 12. You can also find links to our forums posted on bcat.org website and on our league website, lwv-kitsap.org. A little bit of voter information for people. If you have not registered to vote or need to change your mailing address, you can still register or change that address at the auditor's office at the county courthouse until Monday. After that, only new voters, new Washington State voters, can register in person up until October 26th. The ballots go out the 16th or 17th of this month of October, and they have to be returned by November 3rd. If you want to learn more about the candidates, there are excellent resources to do so. The voters' pamphlets, which will be sent out to you, and also Vote 411, which is the league website, is an excellent source. And I've noticed a couple of the candidates actually did fill out pretty elaborate forms and responses to league questions on those websites. We want to thank also all of our co-sponsors for their help in this. Now, gentlemen, you have a minute and a half more to give your closing statements. And Mr. Mathis, I'll start with you, please.
Great. I'll just finish that last train of thought I had on Blackjack Bridge. That we have had fits and starts building that bridge for ever since I became mayor. So it's been almost 4 years. And now we are really, really, really going to do it. We actually did a golden shovel ceremony to turn the first spade of dirt for the foundation for the bridge. The bridge should be here middle of the month, installed and ready to go sometime early in November. So that's going to be a big deal. And the reason I say it's something worth celebrating is it's pretty hard to get a project over freshwater and saltwater accomplished. And so finally, that we'll be able to walk on a pedestrian footbridge there at Blackjack. I'm very happy about that. The only other thing I would like to tell you is that I am so grateful to you having these forums. I don't, you know, I would have loved to have a pass, not have somebody run against me, but not really, because I've always said, how do people know who you are, and what you think about, or what you want to do if you don't have an opponent and you don't have a forum? So thank you for having this forum and doing a great job. I'm Tim Mathis, and I'm so pleased to have been allowed to serve you for 4 years, and I'm looking forward to serving you for an additional 4 years, if you'll let me. Thank you.
And Mr. Patansu with a U, further U on your name. I'm sorry about that, but your final comments, please.
It would be a great honor for me to be your next mayor. I have the proven leadership skills and the ability to bring consensus with others. Those skills are going to be necessary when working with the council, with working with our regional partners, our state and federal partners, because that's where the money comes from to get the things we need done, completed. As your next mayor, I will succeed in making Port Orchard a vibrant community, and I hope you will vote for me as your next mayor. Thank you.
I want to thank the audience. You gave some great questions. I'm delighted to see so many people here. It's the biggest audience we've ever had from one of these. Thank you very much. Thank you, candidates. Thank you. Thank you, audience.